Hey, Jeeples, welcome to another episode of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. I'm Kevin, the engineer, the guy who usually reads the instructions, follows them, and uses the appropriate tools.
And I'm Scott. I'm the slapstick parts guy. If Kevin did, that's all, folks. If Kevin did not read the instructions, good gravy, are we in trouble?
And we've got a guest already, so let's go ahead and introduce the guest, since it would be impolite for us to introduce ourselves and not our guest.
Yes. Hi, guest.
Hi.
And this is Chrissy Johnson. Do we say the head CEO, the main person in charge for Off-Road United?
Yes,
She
sir.
who must be obeyed.
Yeah. I think we might get some letters from friends saying, why did you put that in her head?
I think it's there already.
Yes,
Yeah,
for good reason.
So remember, while we will share what worked for us, as well as what didn't, probably more importantly,
like my camera.
like your camera, it's really up to you to choose what you want to do with your Jeep. So do your research, and please read the instructions
And follow them.
and follow them. They're there for a reason. So obviously we have a new person in the studio.
Yes.
Scott, I'm going to let you do the lead-in.
Oh, great. I have nothing prepared. Just like dinner.
Do you
Moving
ever?
on. So as you all may know, we've been a big proponent for the Crawling for the Fallen event. And to my left, or on your radio dial, as Gene, whatever would say, Deckerhoff would say from your right, oh, forget it. Hi, this is Chrissy Johnson, everyone. Her main event coming up is Crawling for the Fallen up here November
8th through the 10th.
Hi, Chrissy. That was Chrissy. So as usual, Kevin and I have been talking about it, really trying to get some hype up for it. You're at a new event this time. I don't want to steal too much of your venue. Thank
It's
you.
the same event, different venue.
You can tell I'm nervous, That's one of those kind of things. I don't know what authority does. I just go all stupid.
You have a cute girl in the room, and you just fall to pieces.
Well, I mean,
Yep. Bingo.
Oops.
there'll be a letter about that. You know what?
From Dory.
And I do have to thank our listener. He'll know when I say this. He goes, Scott, it's really great that you guys always support Leos, but sometimes I see myself as a Sagittarius. Thank you. I told you I was going to use that. So this is our upcoming support show for the Leos. And so basically, why don't we? I'll shut up now and let's just.
Let's
Chrissy?
let Chrissy tell us all about what your charity is, why you do it, and where it comes from. I know we covered it last time you were on the show, but that's been a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's get these additional listeners that we have, let them know all about this great thing that you're doing to help the families.
Okay, so Off-Road United Foundation is our 501c3. We are an organization that helps all first responders. However, our big event that's coming up that we talk so highly of, or that you guys talk so highly of, Crawling for the Fallen, is an event strictly for survivors support. And we raise money for those families. We invite the families out. They get to ride in the Jeeps with us. They get to see what us Jeepers, I should say Jeeples, love to do, whether it be rock crawling, playing in mud, just some real Jeep therapy. And, they deal with so much tragedy, or they've dealt with so much tragedy, that our organization is there for them, just to give them a weekend away to enjoy some stuff that they're not familiar with. They don't realize that Jeeps can do what they can do. And so it's been a lot of...
So let me make a jump in here, folks. So if you're listening and you're in the area, or you can get to the area, this is an opportunity to go out and actually meet the people you're helping, to actually share smiles as well as a little bit out of your pocketbook.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, real quickly, because I don't want to get too far ahead. So how long has this event been going on?
This will be our 5th year.
Sweet.
Yes.
That's really cool. And so just a little brief history. The whole idea was started with, Crawling for the Fallen. Obviously, you got personal experience with this. Do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the history of it?
Sure. So in 2003, on Father's Day, I lost my brother-in-law in the line of duty. He left behind his wife, 3 children, 5 brothers and sisters, his in-laws, his parents, several nieces and nephews, and then a whole community.
Right.
The community where I'm from is very small. The state of Vermont is very small. That's where I'm originally from. And when you leave behind that many people, you actually affect an entire state. And now, as most of our Leo will say, we lost a brother, whether they're in Vermont or they're in California or they're in Texas or they're in Florida. They lost family as well. So it's not just a community that loses. It's an entire organization. It's an entire law enforcement community that loses a brother or a sister in the line of duty. So in 2003, when we lost Michael, it took a while for us to get through everything that we went through trauma-wise. It's definitely a hard thing for a family to have to deal with court cases and lawsuits and everything else that goes along with it. So I started giving back in 2007 to the organization called Concerns of Police Survivors.
Okay.
They do the counseling and support for our organization, for the families. So they do the support for the families. They do retreats. They do national conferences. They do traumas in law enforcement. So they do a lot of different really good things, including national law enforcement. They go to the DC and they do a huge event with National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, where they announce the names of the officers killed in line of duty each year, and they put their name on the wall up there. So they do National Police Week. And in 2007, I started raising money for them. I did a 25-mile walk up in Washington, D.C., and I met hundreds of survivors. And when I mean hundreds, I walked with 180 survivors one of the years that I was up there. And when you get to walk 25 miles, you hear their stories. And we know that we're not the only ones that have ever been through that. And some of those people had never been to a COPS event. They had never gotten the counseling and support. It had been 25 years since they had lost their loved one or whatever, and they finally decided it was time to reach out and get some help. So talking with all of them and then moving to Florida shortly afterwards, I spent a lot of time by myself because I had gone through the trauma of losing an officer in the line of duty. I ended up divorced and starting all over again. And that's what usually happens in situations like that. Right. So I went to Jeep Beach. And I volunteered at Jeep Beach, and that was my introduction to the Jeep world, the Jeep community. And I realized how amazing Jeeples were, and they just brought me right in like I was family myself.
Cool.
And so after doing that, I had talked with my friend Holly Long. She's been my backbone for the last 5 years. She's my co-partner in this. And we have a silent partner, Jason, who he does all our video and everything for us. And I said, hey, what do you guys think? Can we do this? Can we pull it off? And, our first year we pulled it off with over 200 Jeeps at the event. Mm-hmm. Cool. And we raised, a good amount of money for the Concerns of Police Survivors organization. But we continued to go along with it. We turned it into an annual event. And in the last 4 years for our event, we've raised over $330,000 for Concerns of Police Survivors. Cool.
And it's a concern of police survivors, COPS. That's a way the acronym, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and that's one of the things, like when people see the news, the officer was left behind a family of 3 or whatever. It almost is a way for you to reach out. If you were to get interested and look into Crawling for the Fallen, you would see the personalized side of this. There are family members, friends that have been lost in the line of duty, and it's a chance to humanize in a way.
Absolutely.
It really is. Probably one of the strongest memories I have was the year that we were up there at the Jeep Ranch before and the Survivor Ride.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a touching moment actually, but it was nice because you got the chance to see the smiles, and for, like you said, a weekend out of the year, it's a chance to be around like people that understand, that know what you went through, and it's a chance to just get a sense of community, maybe even get back something that you lost in a way.
Absolutely. And I think like the families that get to take these children out or get to take a survivor out on a trail ride, their lives get changed as well. It becomes more personal for them. They understand the magnitude of what they've gone through. And we still, every year afterwards, we get stories back of, it was so amazing to have this one in my Jeep. And it was so cool. This one got to drive. And, and then you find out a year or two down the road that they've either gone and bought a Jeep or they've decided that they want to become part of the Jeep family and they're looking. We have several survivors that have actually gone out and bought their own Jeeps, and they come to the event now and they bring survivors out. So cool. It's definitely a therapy for all of us. It definitely helps me get through the stuff that I've dealt with personally. But I know that there's so many families out there that need the help that, when you can do something like this and you have the community backing you and they understand they've got a bigger family than just law enforcement, that the Jeep family is always going to be there no matter what. And in whatever circumstances you're involved in, if you ask for help, you're going to get it.
Well, that's cool. Now, do you guys still do the demonstrations, like the police dog demonstrations and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Because Kevin threatened to throw a pork chop around my neck and push me out there and say, go get him, boy. And I didn't know if that would be allowed.
So they do.
Oh, no. Why'd you just say that? I'm going to be in a bite suit one day.
So a couple years ago, we actually did the bite suit. I was in it. And unfortunately, the dog came after the wrong arm and I had the other one wrapped. So they were a little nervous about that. But so, yes, we do. We actually have 101 demonstrations. We have K9 demonstrations. This year, with the new location, we're really super excited because we're in the middle of 2 counties. Sweet. So we have 2 sheriff's departments involved in it. We have a police department involved in it. And then we have another gentleman coming in from Point 27, David Dodd, who is bringing dog tags in for every department that actually has representation there. So we'll be handing out over 8,000 dog tags to sworn officers.
What is Point 27?
So Point 27 is another nonprofit. They work with Shields of Strength, and their mission is to make sure that every first responder in the country gets a dog tag with a saying on the back of it.
Oh, wow.
And so we've partnered with them for our event. He was supposed to go to the national conference that Concerns of Police Survivors puts on, but he's coming to our event instead this year because we do have several agencies that are sending representation to collect their dog tags so they can get it back to their officers here in Florida.
Cool. That's very nice.
So, yes.
So you kind of teased on it. New location.
Yes.
Where?
So we are this year located in Keystone Heights at the FIRM, Florida International Motorsports Rally. No, we're not going to be doing racing. We actually have the track closed down for the weekend just because there's so many of us Jeepers out there. But it is called the FIRM.
Okay.
And it's a great location. It has been amazing as far as working on it. We've got some really great people up there fixing the obstacle course.
Sweet.
And so if you guys ever went to our event the first year at Wildwood, Scott Pitts and Dave Gobelish are both working on our obstacle course for us. And of course, Adam Gaskins has been a huge help from Ice Anchor. He's got connections up there. So they've brought in 10 loads of rocks for us to climb on.
Awesome.
And so we're pretty excited about it. But it's held at an airport. It's right next to an airport anyways. They lease the property from the airport. There's 24 miles of trails out there. So we have anything from, just a basic drive in the park to your mud and your rocks and your hills and just about anything else that you can potentially want out there.
Yeah, I guess it's called Florida International Rally and Motorsport Park, right?
Right,
Yes.
that's the FIRM.
Yeah.
And just for the rest of you in the country heading out this way, if you Googled the FIRM racetrack in Florida, it'll come up. It's just northeast of Gainesville, Florida, off of State Route 301, a little bit tucked in, as she said, in the Keystone Heights region. And
I thought that said Looney Lake for a minute.
Lowry Lake.
I know.
Can't take him anywhere.
I know.
And the minute you said Lowry, I thought, seasoned salt.
So anyway, she says it's right off the of a local airport out there. So you'll actually, I can see the list of it. It's right next to the runway. So make sure you stay on the marked trails, folks.
Yeah.
You
It
might have
is.
interesting tile marks on the roof of your Jeep. And for those of you that are open top, I can remember that commercial of the airplane landing and the guy was behind the little lady and wouldn't get out of the way. And he went faster and when the airplane landed on his vehicle. It's like, so anyway, just to spot you a little bit. So it's just outside of the Gainesville, Florida region, just about dead center east-west, not too far from St. Augustine, a little bit south of Jacksonville, right in that central. So those of you up there in Georgia, and I know you're listening.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're listening. It's not a long drive for you guys to come on down. So get online, get registered, and get down here. Come on, show us Florida boys, who play in the sand, how you guys in the Georgia mud come down and
clay.
wheel.
Really quickly, because I see it all the time, sponsoring officers and canines and all that. Has that deadline already passed?
No. So we still have a few officers to get sponsored. Each year, on average, 140 to 160 officers are killed in the line of duty, and there's usually about 20 to 30 canines.
Okay.
This past year, we had 163 officers and 28 canines.
Okay.
So we have almost all of them sponsored. We're down to our last 30 officers and the last 7 canines
Now,
out
this
of all
comes
of
out
those.
October 1st. Will they still have time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. They will still have time to do that. Basically, what we try to do is we still, even if we don't get them sponsored prior to the event, people still are donating money all the way up through.
Okay.
And we make sure that there's not an officer that's forgotten. So every single one of those officers will have their name. They're already on one of the banners that went to DC, and all the survivors signed that banner. So that will be displayed at the event. But we also have the flags with the bells. I don't know if you guys saw those in the past at the event, but we do have a flag that is hung in their honor with a bell on the bottom of it. So every time the wind blows, you can actually hear them. And we say they're angels in heaven, kind of shining down on us. And so we actually make sure that their names, end of watch, all their information is actually on one of those flags.
So if they want to sponsor a canine or an officer, Off-Road United will be the website they go to get that information, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep. offroadunited.org.
Cool.
Yep.
We'll make sure I get that in, because in case I forget it, and I know there's a listener going, come on, Scott, say it. Where are they coming? Where do I go for the
Yes.
information?
Yeah, Off-Road
I will
United.
put liner notes
Off-road,
in the...
Yeah.
.org,
.org, folks.
.org.
.org.
Yes. So basically, it's going to be at the firm. So I'm sure you're also travel. You travel everywhere. You're almost like rival Kevin with a diamond membership of flying places. I mean, and unfortunately, I had to say I wish you didn't have to travel for these reasons. But did you already go or are going to Washington D.C. to represent something? Or
so we actually went to D.C. in May for National Police Week. We are one of Concerns of Police Survivors' larger donors. So we're in their top level tiering for their donations with over $100,000 last year, $130,000 a year before. So they invite us up to participate in that. We actually flew our big, huge thin blue line flag, which is the largest in the country. Yeah. And actually, since you guys have California listeners, you guys just got one that's the same size as the one that we have. So now we're doubled in the sizes.
Ours is more gooder because it's the original.
It's the original, but we actually had to go one size bigger. So I apologize, but we did get a bigger one. We ended up dating a
fist bump on the radio. Boom.
So we did go with a 20 foot by 30 foot one that actually can be, or a 38 foot one that can actually be tied down for the funerals and stuff that we attend. But we did go to DC. We were part of the Law Enforcement United ride. We actually got to fly a Big Blue at that ride and watch all the bikers come in and raise money for cops. And then we actually participated in Tent City, which is another area where all our Leos are. We talk about the survivors all the time, but another one that we really want to make sure that everybody knows Offered United supports is our active Leos. Right. And, between PTSD, suicide prevention, any of those types of programs, that's what we're there for. We are working on getting some additional stuff together so that we can work on making sure the wellness of our law enforcement officers, whether they're injured, ill, or sick, right. That we can actually take care of them. So it was really great for us to be part of the Tent City event with all the law enforcement active officers. So we did that. And then you guys are, next week I'm actually traveling up to DC after I get back from my cruise again for the 25-mile walk. So we actually, this will air October 1st.
Yes.
So October 12th and 13th, I will actually be traveling to DC again to participate in the 25-mile walk with the survivors. It'll be the 15th year anniversary of that walk starting, and it'll be my 200th mile.
Awesome.
Wow. Congratulations.
Awesome. Congrats.
So is there anything people... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead again.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, is there anything people can do on the website? Like you mentioned something about someone donated some money because they heard it through a salon. What are some ways people can help? Obviously, going to the
well, that's
website.
exactly where I was going to go. Was Chrissy, thinking of the fact that Crawling for the Fallen's here in Florida. But let's face it, a lot of people can't get down to Florida here by the November the 8th and the 10th. And so, but if they're interested and want to help, how can they help?
So we actually have a lot of options on our website. You can make a general donation, which will allow us to help with all of the operating expenses to make sure we can travel to all the locations we have to make sure that flag gets flown at every funeral that happens in whatever state we get asked to go to. But there's a lot of drop downs in there in our website where you can donate to our PTSD program, or you can donate to, right now we're helping a firefighter that has, he just lost his baby up in Pasco County. So we're actually getting ready to make a donation to them as well. So there's links on our website that if you pick and choose which program you want to allocate your money to,
so let me get this straight.
Donation.
They can donate, which everybody likes to do, but they can actually steer their donation.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So, like, let's say I'm a Jeep group in California, which is one of our bigger download areas, and they want to rally together and do a Jeep wash and get together. They can go ahead and collect money and send it to you, and you'll even do, I guess, the receipt for tax
you're
purposes.
You're a 501c3, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
And you do give, if they have a business tax, you can provide them the receipt that they need for tax purposes.
Absolutely.
So that's even better.
So you can even have a get together outside the state to help out.
Right. So that's what I was going to say was, all of the other Jeep folks that listen to us, we know our communities out there that listen to us. If you can't make it to Florida and you don't just want to write a check, go ahead and put together your own event, and collect money, and you can submit it through Chrissy to support the survivors, of fallen first responders. So it's not something that you have to come here. Of course, we'd welcome you here. I think it'd be a lot of fun to have some out-of-state folks come on down here and play. It's a really cool event. But you can also do something in your area. And I'm sure if you want to do something more, you can contact you.
Absolutely.
There's an email link in your website, I assume?
Yes. Yep,
oh, yeah.
absolutely.
And if you follow the Facebook page, she is always on video giving you the state of the United, I guess, is the way to say it. Because she is quite the video.
And what do they look for on Facebook?
Yeah, what's the Facebook page?
So we have 2 Facebook pages. We actually have Offer United Foundation, and then we also have Crawling for the Fallen. So you can find us on either one.
On either one of them.
If you're Leo, if you're wanting to donate strictly to the Leo, then I would say follow Crawling for the Fallen. That is where all of our information about the event in November is, and that's where we post it all. If you want to support any of our firefighters or military or EMTs, you can go to Offered United Foundation, and that's where we keep all the information that goes to the rest of the charity.
Okay, well
That's
that
awesome.
works. So basically, I know we've ticked off some boxes here. You got the history of the event. The event's coming up. We did say the date. I'm hoping we did say the date.
Yes, November 8th through the 10th.
Okay. We ticked off some of the things that are going to happen. Now, most importantly, a lot of this stuff can't happen without sponsors. And I know you got some big sponsors that have done right by you for many years. So what are some of these sponsors? Let's show them some love. Who do we got out there?
Absolutely, man. We would not be able to do this without our supporters. And, we do a big Jeep raffle every year, and we have a lot of donations that come in for that. Metal Cloak is one of them. They did the body armor. They did a
Nice.
long arm kit this year. Last year, they hooked us up with a 4-inch lift in body armor as well. So Metal Cloak has been a huge, huge asset to us. But 4-Wheel Parts has always been there for us. They are actually a 5-year running organization that actually
Awesome.
supported us every single year for the last 5 years. They are going to be at our event again this year. They actually help out with the Jeep build as well. And then we have It Works Gives Back. And if people don't know what It Works Gives Back is, they are a large organization out of the Bradenton area, and they have supported us for all 5 years as well. And they kick a big donation out to us every single year, not necessarily to to actually set up a booth and be part of it like that, but they actually just want to support. And it's been amazing to be able to go and say It Works Gives Back, helps out with that. We have several other locations. Boundless Off-Road is actually building the Jeep for us. A huge shout out to Rusty and the guys over there, Brandon. And then we have a lot of silent ones. Adam Gaskins from Ice Anchor has really stepped up this year and helped us out with the firm.
Cool.
And making sure that everything gets done up there between getting the tents set and the tables. A new venue brings new hurdles to start all over again. And the people that we've used in the past for the bounce houses and the tents and everything else, we have to start all over again with that. So he's been really instrumental in getting us those secured up in that area. Yeah, gosh, there's just so many of them out there, but those are our biggest ones. Spiderweb Shade, we Forever Wave. There's just so many of them that it's
as
hard.
we always say, if you forget one, it's not because it was intentional. It's because so much love is shown to a great cause.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that I just put the Jeep build out yesterday, and I think we probably have over 30 companies that have donated to the Jeep build. So
Wow. And that's
They
all
can find
documented?
out.
that's all
online.
documented. It's all online. You can look to see all those companies. Our list of vendors are actually online. So again, we have a long list of vendors. There's over 50 coming this year. Again, so we're super excited about all of those.
Look at that. You come up as the very first search.
Yes.
Exactly. And
So
that's what we
we
want.
try real hard to make sure we're on that Google search fast.
Well, and that's another thing I want to say, because the couple years prior, I had to go out. I didn't win the LJ, so I had to go buy mine, which is fine. But so
And
you
that's
guys,
okay. You shouldn't have won the LJ. I helped build the LJ.
so here's a question. You just mentioned a Jeep build this year.
Yes.
So what do we got going on? What kind of
So
Jeep we got?
it's a 2002, and actually I can read that from here. If you actually open that up, I can read it. Scroll
Okay.
down to the bottom of that message right there. There we go.
All right.
It has got everything listed on our website as to what's going on right now. And there's still more vendors actually donating to us. But it's a 2002 Wrangler. It's a 4.0 automatic. It is being built by Boundless Off-Road. It's got Pro Comp mud terrains. It has got an axle swap. We're putting 1 tons underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is going to be a beast. Motobuilt has donated the gas tank. That's behind the seat gas tank. It's got light bars. It has got lockers. It has got, you name
it's
it.
got Mastercraft
it's got
seats.
It. Mastercraft seats,
Yes.
absolutely. Custom roll cage built by Mike Janis up at his new business up there. Like I said, Metal Cloak has come in big time for us. But the businesses that have donated are all on there too. Metal Cloak,
Oh,
4-Wheel
sweet.
Parts, Boundless Off-Road, First Gear Transmission, Aero X,
So if you-
Explicit Customs.
If you click on the
look-
Crawling for the Fallen Facebook page, it's literally a sponsors list right
Correct.
there for you.
Yeah,
Yep,
it just
yep.
goes on and on and on. And
Yes.
on.
Well, that's good.
there's a lot of them, and I can't thank everybody enough. I mean, there's just so many to name, every single one of them, but it's on our page. We want to make sure we share the love. We just got approved as a Microsoft organization for them to match donations.
Awesome.
So we're pretty excited about that. And Duke Energy, same thing. You know, if you're an employee of either one of those, if you put community hours in or you donate to us, we get money back. So
Sweet.
we're pretty excited.
So there's another teaser for folks that if you haven't come to this, you can get on the website. $20 for a ticket, right?
Yes,
So
it's a $20
donation, and you can get a raffle ticket to win this Jeep. I'm sitting here looking at it, and it's silver.
It's actually not. So
Not
that one
anymore?
is last year's
Oh,
Jeep.
that's-
So
oh,
if
yes.
you look at
Okay.
the pictures, we kind of showed everybody what we did last year
Oh,
with the
it's-
original one.
I got you.
I see the
to see a
teasers.
before and after kind of thing. And now we, specialty powder coating. Bonnie has been
Bon-
amazing.
yeah,
And
she's
if you
awesome.
guys,
We know
if you guys
Bonnie.
check out, yes, man, she has powder coated everything for us. And then she actually, one of her big things is she's been with us for 5 years.
Yep.
Again, you guys know her personally. She's been on your show. She was actually on your show right before my first visit on your show.
Yeah.
And, just to hear her story about her Jeep, and now she's rebuilding it.
She's right in the middle of rebuilding it.
But she, every year she does something spectacular. And this year, actually, she donated an AR this year for our event. And it's
Nice.
customized and it's gorgeous. And you can get tickets for that too.
That fits Bonnie. That fits Bonnie.
Yes.
She's either willing or shooting something.
Yes, yeah. So if you, like I said, if you go to our
That's
website,
gorgeous.
we have a pop up now. You can actually donate, or you can sponsor an officer, or you can get your Jeep or gun tickets. But everything that we raise from this actually helps those families, and you'll be able to see on the Jeep that we kind of put some of those names of some of our local officers here in Florida that we've lost in the line of duty, and you can see where their families have signed that banner that will be hanging at our event in DC. A little special tidbit about that Jeep: as long as everything goes through smooth, we actually will have a custom hood put on it that's going to be airbrushed by a friend of ours that lost his dad in the line of duty, and he's actually flying down from Rhode Island to put that on for us. So
Awesome.
it'll be a one of a kind custom build that.
Well, it's already one of a kind. There's no question about
Every
it.
Yeah.
one of your builds you've done every year has been an absolute.
And they just keep every
getting
time you
better.
go, how can you do more? And then the next year that comes along.
I know. What were the chances of us getting a long arm kit on this one?
I know.
It's
Yeah.
just- Metal Cloak really stepped up, and it's just
Oh, man.
absolutely amazing.
Next
And
year,
this
I'm going to hold off for the LS swapped one.
Yes, well, that was what we talked about kind of sort of this year. So we'll see. Next year, we've got another gentleman that actually has just barely stepped up and started to help big time with us. And he's out of Lakeland area, and we're really excited about working with him. And
Cool.
So we'll see what happens for next year. But,
Yeah, unfortunately, we already know someone who's done an LS swap.
Yeah, it's been a rough. Kevin's had fun with it, haven't you, Kevin?
Wires, what? Pretty little wires, all kinds of wires, wires.
Did you forget to read the directions?
Oh,
I'm just wondering.
oh, shots fired.
No. I'm just sitting there going, is the book within reach? Because remember, I wrote the book on
Yeah, I was
this.
gonna
It's
say,
literally that thick.
You basically
boy.
just told the instructor that, hey, sir, do you know what you're talking about? I was like,
No,
Just asking.
No, it's just
it's fun. I'd like you to get him on his feet. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Now I don't have to get him for the rest of the show. You did it for me. Thank you. Boom.
hell will be paid, but you're going to pay the bill, Scott.
Worth it.
Yes, I have read the book. Written a chapter or two myself.
Well, that's cool. So we covered almost all the bases. So what are your hopes for this year? I mean, besides
Besides having everybody find the new location.
yes.
So it is a new location. I mean, our goals is, again, to raise as much money as we possibly can, get as many survivors out there as we possibly can, get as many law enforcement officers out there as we possibly can. One of the big things that we got from last year was that, we had a spouse of a current officer that said, hey, this is the first time I finally got my husband back after a bunch of years. And I was kind of like, well, what are you talking about? And she said, it's the first time that he's actually been able to come out to an event and know that everybody there supports him and he doesn't have to have his head on a swivel. And with
that's
society the way that it is right now and the jobs that they deal with right now and everybody not liking law enforcement, it's been a real tough job for a lot of them. And to be able to come out to an event and just know that they've got everybody watching their back no matter where they are out there, whether it be at the firm, or whether it be at the Cracker Kitchen on Friday night when we're doing our show and shine, or anywhere else up in that area for the weekend, camping, whatever, they know that there's going to be a lot of people there that have got their back, and that will continue to trickle out into the community. So we're really excited about making sure that everybody comes to that event and shows their support, and they're constantly knowing that we've got their six.
Yeah, well, that's like I've even gotten the silent nod a couple of times at the Wawa, buying my soda, and Leo sees my bracelet I got from for the Fallen event. It's not out there broadcasting to the world. It's the silent nod. It's the yes, we support you, and that's what's important, and I guess needed much more than ever right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember stopping at a gas station last year, and it kind of broke my heart. And I'm kind of like I don't know, I'm very skeptical on some people, but I watched an officer have his back to another guy that was walking right straight behind him. So here I am, getting ready. I'm a concealed carry girl, and if I had to, I would use it. But he had his back to this guy, and he got real close to him, and I was a little nervous, and the guy kind of walked by him, and maybe I'm a little more skeptical than most, but I kind of watched the whole thing go down, and then he went and he did something in his Jeep, in his car, and I got out of the Jeep and I walked over and I said, this is who I am, this is what I do, I thank you for your service, and I gave him my card for crawling, and I said, we'd love to have you come if you want. And he walked back over to his vehicle and got ready to get in it. And then he walked back over to me and he said, can I give you a hug? You just made my day.
Yeah.
And, I handed him a bracelet and I said, if you guys ever need anything, let me know. I gave him my business card. But it's just interaction like that, yesterday was National Thank a Police Officer Day. So if you didn't get out and give them a thank you, I mean, I thank them every single day, every time I see them. But, if you didn't get a chance to do that, there's plenty of days that you can go out and you can just drop by their office and give them some donuts, or, give them a bracelet, or give them a hug, give them a handshake. Tell them that you appreciate them, because they definitely need it.
Yeah, no, I've actually been with a couple of people from work where they were at the restaurant and paid for a couple of Leo's lunch. Just say, hey, we got this. Don't worry about it. Again, I don't know. I could go at 100 miles an hour in 9 different subjects, but the important part, especially where I'm moving from, I have a newfound respect. I mean, one, talking with you and getting stories and meeting people, you do see the human aspect. And unfortunately, with society, like you said, everything is dehumanized in a way, and it's we need that human element. We need that thank you. It doesn't matter who you're. Just be just thank you. You know.
Yep.
Sweet. So I didn't know if you wanted to go ahead and make for a break. Is there anything else you want to say thank you to anybody? I know obviously Holly and especially your right hand girl. Anybody else you want to thank?
Yeah, I mean, I want to thank obviously everybody that supports us, everybody in the Jeep community. I have some real strong. My family members are all flying down from Vermont,
and boy, their arm's going to be tired. I had to say it, guys.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Yes. We have a little 7th grader up there that's making bracelets, and he's selling them. He wants to donate $500 to us. So again, as you guys said, if you want to do your own event someplace else, it doesn't have to be here in Florida. You can do your own event and help out.
But we're going to be warm down here.
Yeah,
it's definitely warm. November, it's snow season, so all y'all that are up there in the northern area that want to get away, come
including
down.
Our one listener in Canada.
Yeah, we got more than one, but
cool.
I think of our original.
Yes,
that is cool. But yeah, I just can't thank everybody enough. I mean, just the support from everybody in the community, Bradford Sheriff, Clay County Sheriffs, all the people up in the Stark area have been phenomenal, and we're really excited about it. We can't wait. And again, the more people we can get there.
And I'm sorry, I just cannot let that pass without one small comment. Folks, if you're coming to the event, obey the speed limits in Stark.
In Stark. Yes.
So I'll kind of give another story, and you guys can use this if you want. But my brother-in-law, when I was driving up to Stark, I had no idea where it was located.
Right.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, I've driven through it hundreds of times.
And I still use a GPS to get to here.
Right.
I don't know where I'm going half the time.
So do I.
Yeah. So, but in Vermont, you take a right, and you're there. And it doesn't matter if you went from St. Albans to Rutland, you're take a right, and it's a 2-hour drive. Here it's take a left, take a right, take a left, go over a hill, go over a bridge. It's just a whole different ball game.
You found the hill in Florida?
I did. Wow. It's the bridge.
Nice. Well played. Yeah, it's called the Sunshine Skyway.
Yes, and if you go on a windy day, it's even more fun.
Especially with a box truck. Moving on.
Or the Jeep with no top
yeah.
or doors. You become a sail pretty much. But so when I drove up there on my way up, when I got there and we started meeting and talking to people, they said, you do realize you're part of two counties. You're on Clay County and Bradford County. And I stopped right there and I just kind of looked at Holly and the tears just rolled down my eyes. And she's like, what? What just set you off? Like, what was that all about? And I said, Michael was from Bradford, Vermont.
Oh,
and
okay.
That's where he was stationed, was at the Bradford, Vermont State Police Barracks when he was killed in line of duty. So I said, we always say everything happens for a reason. And, we're sad that the Jeep Ranch closed.
Right.
We're heartbroken because it was a great place to wheel. And,
Buddy's a cool guy too.
Buddy's awesome. I saw him yesterday. But it was definitely a heartbreak when it closed because we knew it was going to affect our numbers. We knew it was going to affect the local people that have always supported us in the past. But when I found out that it was in Bradford, I said everything happens for a reason. We're back. We're at home where it's supposed to be. That's going to be our home for a while. And the firm has been amazing working with us. And I just think that it's definitely. Bradford Barracks is small like Vermont was, and they're ready to just pitch in 110%. So
That's awesome.
Cool. So this year, more than any, if you're on the fence about going, especially go.
Well,
Yes.
and I was going to throw the other teaser out. This is something that every guy I know in Central Florida who wheels is looking for. A new venue.
Yeah.
A new trail.
A new challenge.
A new challenge. This is one that you haven't been on. You haven't been there. You haven't done this.
You don't know what to expect.
So here's your
Absolutely.
opportunity. Get out there. And for us local folks, this is one. It's like we're going to miss it, but that's its own reason. But that just means next year it'll be new to us.
Exactly.
So you've got a chance to go on a new trail and a new location that you haven't been before.
absolutely, and for a great cause.
And a great cause.
Yeah.
One last thing. Entrance. What's the entrance fee?
So if you pre-register, it's actually $60.
Okay.
If you want to camp on site, if there's still spaces available, that's available for $20 a night. And then if you register at the day of the event, it's going to move up to $80. So you're saving money by coming in early. And the other thing is you actually have a guaranteed spot if you pay ahead of time for camping.
When is pre-registration open?
We probably will keep it open until November 1st.
Okay, because I tried to say over, but I said open. So
How long is it open? till?
yes, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, see.
So I think we're going to keep pre-registration open until at least November 1st,
Okay.
which will give everybody an opportunity after Jeeptoberfest to still register. Last year we closed it a little bit early and then we reopened it, but I think we've got enough people on hand right now that are able to put the stuff together. And
I just remembered something. Are you guys doing a night ride?
yes, we are.
Are you going to have the same level of night rides you've had before?
Yes.
Okay, because this is one of those things where I have to hang my head in shame a little bit. I have yet to experience one of those. And they did the blue glow sticks.
Yes.
They told me, everyone says that it is the most closest you're going to come to a religious experience of what you can see. And it puts in perspective everything. And that is critically important.
Yes.
So all the more reason to get folks down here, to get to the new venue, to go and support this great event.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Well, Chrissy, we really appreciate you coming in, and we know it was a drive for you a little bit. Well, was it a drive for you?
It's an hour.
An hour, okay.
That's not too
about
bad.
what I have. But again, we you're extremely busy. I've been hearing your phone buzz for a while now. You're extremely busy, and we really thank you for coming on in and joining us today.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to be here. And
Anytime. That's what we're here for.
absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you guys.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and with a quick little musical interlude, we'll be back with Kevin's Garage.
You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
Hey guys, don't forget to check out the onthetrailpodcast.com where all your favorite information is. Also, too, as always, 4x4radionetwork.com. Great shows like Trail Chasers and the Jeep Talk Show and all the usual fun and, I guess you could say, off-road shenanigans. So with that, remember
I
to check
thought that
them
was
out.
your world.
Well, that too.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a quick second. Before we jump into the garage, actually, while I'm going to click the garage, I got a quick little email from Keith. Basically, Keith wanted to find out real quickly. Bought a new the 2003 TJ Rubicon, Boom Shakalaka Team Rubicon. Way to go, Keith. He basically is worried about rust and wanted to ask a quick question about something called fluid film. Mm-hmm. And his second part of his question was, this is right up your alley, buddy. Mm-hmm. He's got an ARB front bumper on his TJ, and he wants to start flat towing his Jeep. And I'm like, oh, man, this is like right up your alley because I think someone just recently did that.
Yeah, somebody did with an ARB front bumper on a TJ.
Exactly.
All right. Well, as far as fluid film's fine. It is simply an oil that has a very low surface tension. So the idea of the fluid film is that it's a thin oil you can spray over top of metal, and it will do a reasonable job of sealing off from moisture, and corrosion. The downside to any of the spray-on coatings is if you don't start with clean metal, you're sealing in the corrosive elements.
Yeah.
As well as
painting over dirt.
Yeah. You know how to make my blood run cold, don't you? But unfortunately, ever since they stopped using Cosmoline, just because it was mildly toxic.
Yeah.
But I'm
rub some dirt on
it. Well, there's parts that were packaged, back in World War II.
Jeep tops were soaked in Cosmoline, weren't they?
Oh, what's that?
Weren't Jeep's tops soaked in Cosmoline?
I don't know.
To keep them water resistant?
That may be what they use, but I'm just sitting here thinking of the parts. You and I were watching the video a little earlier today of a guy rebuilding a 1940s Caterpillar D2.
D2 tractor.
And he's pulling new old stock piston cylinders out, that they're putting in, and they've been soaked in Cosmoline, and the box is covered with dust and dirt, and unwraps the crinkly paper. And,
it's like it was packaged in World War II. We won victory in Europe.
Open it up, and lo and behold, it's clean, not a spot of rust on it.
That's back when they made things to last.
So anyway, fluid film's good. You just have to make sure that it's clean and dry before you apply.
Clean and dry before you apply. Clean and dry before you apply. Clean and dry before you apply.
I knew he'd come up with that one. Any of those things. I've even seen people out there who will use wax and cut that with like kerosene or a light oil to make up a solution and spray it in there. And all of that has been used at one time or another. Problem is, most of these things will eventually go away. Oils are oils, and by their nature, they are liquid. They will flow, and it may take a year or two or three.
Right.
But, anything you do is better than letting your Jeep rust, naturally. So if you can slow it down from oxygen, I prefer the chemical treatments. We've talked about those before, where I clean it very, very well, dry it very well. Fortunately, in Florida, if I pick the right season, hot and dry is easy. The rest of the year, hot and wet is easy. And then whether I use a self-etchant primer or a chemical reactive ones such as the rust reformers that go
your
in
favorite.
there. All of those will take the flash rust and light rust and actually convert it to a stable material. But a fluid film, and particularly if you've got a rough metal, a porous metal like a casting, fluid film is a product. It's a very light oil with a stabilizer. And it's actually really pretty good because it'll flow in a lot of the cracks and crevices. Now, just understand that you will need to reapply it periodically.
Right.
And I can't tell you a time you kind of have to, when you start to see it look a little yellow or orange again, and not from dirt, but from, flash rust, it's time to clean and reapply.
Yeah. So what about the tow question?
The tow question. How do you turn a Jeep into a toad?
Yeah, with a kiss from a magic princess.
That would work too. But a toad is the common term for a vehicle towed behind an RV. And normally I am not a huge fan of flat towing Jeeps. Right. It's hard on the steering and the suspension and the tires. But there are times that you have no other choice. I'm going to be in the same realm because depending on where you go, not every location, and I know this goes a little counter to our earlier show a couple years ago, I really like to put my Jeep on a trailer.
Right.
And trailer axles are made to be towed. Trailer axles are made to carry the weight, to have the brakes, all the necessary safety components. And there's no wear and tear on my Jeep. And more importantly, if I do something idiotic with my Jeep,
you can, quote, roll the carcass and or drag the carcass
back on the trailer and get it home.
Yeah.
But when you go to a lot of parks, when you're actually taking the RV side, A lot of the parks don't have any place for you to park that trailer, that flatbed. Short of paying for another campsite next to yours. And I like my Jeep, but that's a little expensive.
Especially at $30 a night.
Yeah, 30. That's a cheap site nowadays. We got to work on that with you.
Amazon? Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. So anyway, on to what was the gentleman's name again?
Keith.
Keith's question.
If it wasn't Keith, I'm sorry, Keith, but you know what I'm talking about.
Keith, yes. There is a company that makes a base plate, and that's what the bracket that goes onto the front frame horns that you connect your tow bar to, for a TJ with an ARB bumper. Yeah. In fact, their information and their installation shows a lifted Jeep with an ARB bumper.
And matter of fact, Kevin, who has recently read instructions about an ARB bumper and it being lifted,
has one and has installed it.
That's why I said "wow" when I replied to your email.
So normally I'm not plugging a particular manufacturer, but this is one that worked for me.
Yeah,
I went with the Roadmaster Incorporated. It's a kit number 521424-5. This bracket bolts on to your steering box location as well as your other frame location. It fits snug under the bumper and under the steering box, actually shielding your steering box. It's a front tie bar in addition to the cross tube, so it actually does double duty. It actually is kind of like a steering box brace as well.
Oh, and a bash bar in a way.
And it's a bash bar as well, although hopefully you can get your tow bar hooked up after the bash bar. Very heavily made. You do end up drilling 2 holes in your passenger side frame member, but they're easy to drill, and they give you all the hardware.
See previous statement about rust proofing.
Correct. See previous statement. Also read instructions, so they do talk about it. It works very well with the ARB bumper. It cleared no problem. It's barely noticeable. It's a type of unit that uses a removable, I guess they call them arm or tow arm. Okay. And they come either with the 2 major ones. There's their style, which is a U-shaped clip, and then there's the slotted finger variety that works with the Blue Ox system as well. So you can get it with the tow bar with the Roadmaster connection or the Blue Ox connection, which means you've got some flexibility there. Yeah.
And looking at the instructions, I'm actually extremely disappointed.
Why?
Well, because, typical being us guys, when we work on stuff, when it says put slot A into tab B, there's no "there's what she said" option.
Nope, there's not. There's not. It's one of their Easy 5 series brackets, if that matters to you. But it went on my Jeep by myself in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I went in as far as the rust side after I drilled all the holes, took it back off, repainted everything, put it back on, then painted over top of that again. Yeah. I do like the fact that this particular base plate, the toe arms are easily removed, yet very sound. They go in 90 degrees off center. When you rotate them to be able to connect them up to your tow bar, that's what locks them in, and you'll hear them lock, and there's a very simple pull pin, and you rotate them 90 so you can take them out. So you go somewhere and your Jeep's a towed, you get there, you unhitch, you turn a little cam, and then it's a very almost unnoticeable bar under your bumper. And it's tucked back in a way. And
it's when as a matter of fact, when Chrissy left, I looked back, and that was my inspiration to remember his email for the garage show, is that you can't tell it's there. Yeah.
Now, on mine, I did do a little bit of trimming. The tow bar comes with a couple of brackets for mounting your 6-wire connector. And yes, that is not a mistake. It is a 6-wire connector, folks, not a 7. It plugs in the RV with a 7, but on the backside, it comes in with a 6. And it has a little tab for putting the breakaway brake connector on.
Right.
I put my 6-wire connector through my bumper. There's a spot on the ARB bumper where I was able to drill the 3 holes and surface mount the plug, so it's now flush up high on the bumper and away from damage. I'm afraid anything hanging under my Jeep is subject to abuse. So I ended up cutting off the 2 little tubes that were there to hold the 6-way, and I'm not going to mount my breakaway connector down there. I'm going to mount it up on above the winch area where it's protected as well. So last thing I want to do is have emergency brakes come on if I kiss a tree too hard.
Yeah, or you run over a road gator or something.
Oh, well, that could happen too. So, anyhow, that worked for me. I share your pain when I was going through. All right, I've got a 4-inch lift, 33-inch tall tires, which is small, I realize, for a Jeep, but it works for me. An ARB bumper. I've got a steering box conversion. I'm not running the
Bosch system.
The Bosch Mercedes system that came with my 05. I'm running a Saginaw upgrade from PSC.
Yeah.
And so I was going, oh boy, what's going to fit? And this bar fit.
Sweet.
This bar fit. It's the only one I found that did. And like I said, the quality of the build seems to be very good. The side plates and everything like that are very heavy steel. They come with all the hardware. It is graded hardware, just like I preach. So I'm happy with it. So you could go to their website, check out roadmaster.com. You can look up kit 521424-5 for TJs. They have them for other JKs and other vehicles. And they seem to be the one company out there that says, hey, Jeeps are one of the most popular towed vehicles. And people modify their Jeeps.
Yeah.
So
congratulations. We're going to have a product that you can only use in a stock Jeep.
Right. Well, unfortunately, a lot of the other ones are exactly that way. If you don't have the stock bumpers, you're kind of SOL.
Yeah.
And these folks said, nope, we can work around it. And fortunate for me and for Keith, they used ARB as their sample for modified.
Yay, good team.
So I hope that answers your question.
I'm sure it does. We have and of course, it's never a dull moment and a source of lots and lots and lots of stuff. But one of our local Jeep groups, we should say, a person asked about, again, the evergreen topic. We've kind of touched on it, but we do kind of sometimes get emails about them. So this is the end of year closeout touch on subjects show. Mm-hmm. Body mounts or body lifts on a JK. And I'm like, Kevin, you want to take this one?
Yeah. Well, what it was a question that somebody sent in and was asking general questions about, body lift or suspension lift, pros, cons, how far can I go, and all these other kinds of things.
And don't just say you don't like them. Tell me why.
And you know me. You give me the opportunity to write a dissertation.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to write a dissertation. Yes. Actually, it was relatively short for me. It was only a couple paragraphs. Yeah.
Short and sweet, really.
So let's talk about it for a minute. Body lifts. If you've listened to the show any time at all, I'm not a big fan of body lifts.
The only time I am if you're doing an 1.5-inch body lift for like a tummy tuck.
Even there, hear me out. The issue with body lifts is not about the actual body lift itself. It's how it's done and what it does to the Jeep. In the factory installation, the body is bolted down very close to the mounts, okay? And you have usually about an inch soft, body mount material that gives. Right. It's installed with either nylock or retained torque nuts that cannot loosen. What you got to realize there is by having a soft mount, which is what they designed, the body actually moves forward on the frame during hard braking, or if a Jeep could accelerate quickly, it would move backwards.
Of course.
Now, Chrysler has sized the metal of the frame and the body in those areas so that amount of rocking back and forth that the stock system provides is acceptable.
Correct.
Also, the bolts are strengthened to the point that the bending force, is acceptable. The bolt can handle it. It's still a wear point, and I've taken apart stock Jeeps that when you replace the body mounts and you look at the holes and you go, ooh, those things are kind of oval.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen when you're bolted tight. Okay, when two pieces of metal are bolted together and the bolt goes through them, actually most of the force is absorbed by the friction between those two materials. When you have a body that's on a cushion of some size, shape, or form, you're going to have motion. That's all there is to it. So now you have to take in bending of the bolt, shearing of the bolt, sliding of the materials. Well, when you are tightening or loosening a really tight bolt, do you grab your little 6-inch ratchet? Or
I'm grabbing the Moab, mother of all bolt breakers.
Well, in this case, we're doing the same thing. The taller you make the body lift, the further you're moving those force points apart.
Yeah, you're giving it mechanical advantage.
You're giving it mechanical advantage. So the body now, if you make the bolt twice as tall, the force at the bottom is almost twice as much. Okay, because you've given twice the leverage for the bending moment.
Right.
So are you bending your body mount, that bottom plate? Are you bending the sheet metal of the floor pan? Highly probable. I've seen more than my fair share of bent sheet metal ones. Nobody thinks to add a bigger washer to spread that load out very often. When you get to really big lifts, I've seen body lift kits of 4 inches, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
That's 4 times the amount of load, and then people wonder why they have squeaks and rattles, and the body mount bolts won't stay tight. So I'm okay. Jeep designed for about an inch.
Yeah.
And so I accept that. That's the engineers have done the crash tests, and over the service life, that's all right. And let's be honest, what does a body lift get you?
Well, that's one thing I want to talk about because, again, from my experience and from what I've done in the collision, the Bondu boutique scenario, is we talked about this. You only have so much room for those brake lines because, remember, the brake lines are on the body, the brake lines are on the frame. There's only so much give. Your radiator hoses, the radiator attaches to the body, the engine's attached to the frame. Correct. Only so much give. Right. Your steering shaft, only so much give. So the idea of it's a cheaper way to put bigger tires... Yeah, you can do it, but it's not the better way.
And that's the only thing you really get when you lift to the body is tire clearance to the body.
Yeah.
Nothing more do you get. It does not change your suspension geometry. It does not change your spring rate. You're putting bigger tires on stock suspension components.
With no bump stops.
Because you've moved your bump stops up with the body.
You're still going to eat your tires into your fenders.
Unless you adjust your bump stop. So there's not as much benefit. If you really want the clearance, trim the fenders. Okay. Yeah. Now, having said that, I understand there are certain layouts. You've done an engine swap, as you said. You've done a tummy tuck. You need that kind of clearance, and it's either body lift or cut the tunnel and refab the tunnel. Okay, I get it. So, small amounts are fine. Make sure it's a good kit, okay? It's not a cheap in. You're not using hardware store bolts, or if you're using grade 5 or better, preferably grade 8, because you are increasing the load. So even though the grade 5s are okay from the factory, you've increased the leverage.
Right.
Suspension kits, on the other hand, as long as you're getting a good one, a name brand, and I'm not going to name names. There's bunches of them out there that are well-made systems. They're going to give you lifts maybe up to 4 inches with a short arm is good. I've seen some 6s, but then your arm angles start to get really funky. And what happens is, the farther your lower control arms are from horizontal, the more the load goes up your butt rather than out the back. So you feel it in the seat. Whereas, I usually tell folks, if you want to have a reasonably driving Jeep and it's not a trail-only Jeep, short arms to 4 inches, long arms 6. And if you're going to 8, you can do a long arm to 8, but I really think you ought to get wider axles.
Or king coilovers or something
king coilovers, because you need to... The Jeep was never designed, a TJ in particular, was never really designed with that intent. So now you're moving outside the safe zone. You're moving the roll center of the vehicle up without compensating it. When you get pick a brand... Chrissy was just talking about them. Metal Cloak. Yeah. Metal Cloaks is a system. They've given you the arms. They've given you the bracketry. They've given you the coils. They've given
brake lines.
The shops. The brake lines. They're all designed to work together. They help with keeping the roll center within the wheel print of the vehicle. And folks, that's your center of gravity as you corner, as the body rolls. Roll center is about when your body leans, okay? So when you take off your sway bar, you've just changed your roll center.
Right.
And when the hypothetical line of the centripetal force plus gravity, one goes sideways to the outside of the curve, the other goes down to the ground from gravity. And when you add those two together, you get what's called a vector, which is an angle.
Right.
When the point of that arrow moves outside your tire, your Jeep says, I'm going to roll over and play dead now. Are you going to join me? And I can joke about it, but the truth is I see it happen all the time. I see those kinds of things happen. From the simplest, hey, I got a lift. I can go over these rocks now. Yeah, you can, but you didn't adjust your track width, and poop, I'm just rolled over on my side and smashed my door and my mirrors. And
I'm going to have trouble explaining this.
Okay. All the way up to the things we see on Facebook and on TV where somebody had to do a high-speed maneuver in a Jeep on the highway and tumbled down the road like a tumblebug. You know, boom, boom, boom. And that's because, again, that force line moved outside the tire footprint. And once you go outside the tire footprint, you're going to roll over.
Yeah.
As long as you can keep the roll center within the tire print, you're good.
You're good.
You may be uncomfortable. I've been in a few of those situations, folks.
Yeah.
But again, I got that funny little piece of paper on the wall that says I sat in school for 6 years and learned all kinds of stupid things. And so I understand that. But just work, if you're not an engineer or a chassis designer, if you don't have that kind of experience, you know, the only thing I can recommend is stick with a kit that has been designed and built that way.
And done them already.
They've done all the
paperwork, homework, and math.
Yeah, and they really have. Otherwise, they would be their insurance company would put them out of business.
Or something close to that, yes.
So I'm not a big fan of body lifts. I'm a big fan of maintaining your body system, you know, the body mounts.
Right.
And slightly altered's body, the factory pucks are starting to look a little sorry. She's got 140,000 miles, and God knows how many trail miles, and whoopsies, and as Scott often jokes, you know, I do drive aggressively on the road because I do have the Jeep set up to corner well.
Right.
Most people don't think a Jeep can be a road vehicle. If you're willing to give a little trail, you can get a little road.
Yeah.
And as such now, though, I'm starting to feel more and more body lean, and it's not in the suspension. It's not something the sway bar can control. It's the body itself squishing the outside.
The aforementioned mounts.
Yeah. And so I will be looking at whether am I going to put stock ones back in? Am I going to go with a polyurethane, or am I going to go with a solid conversion? I don't know the answer to that one right now. It's somewhere. Yeah. My first guess, uneducated, unresearched guess, is probably either stock or polyurethanes. Yeah. Solids are going to transmit a little too much of the butt music up from the road.
And even with the Mastercrafts, it's still going to be an uncomfortable ride.
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes from there. But that just thought we'd share that with you because that was a little topic of discussion today.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think that's all of the wrench playing. We're playing a little bit on Scott's Jeep, kind of doing some cross-pollination between other Chrysler projects, vehicles.
Well, we'll talk about that later. I'm currently, the Tupac, the Charger, donated its trunk-mounted Beats subwoofer box into the LJ. So
and it actually fits, folks.
It actually works. It's really weird. You turn one bracket backwards, and both me and Kevin looked at each other and, well, I'll be damned.
Yeah, we flipped one bracket around, opened the hole up. Didn't do a new hole, just made it a little bit bigger for the bolt we were using, and bought a hardware store clamp, and it mounted in there. It's going to be like, you're going to get a subwoofer out of this.
Yeah.
And it will stand up to trail riding.
and that's the cool thing is, like, the third brake light little bracket kind of snugs right in where
it clears everything. It almost looks like it was intentional.
Yeah.
But we'll cover that, maybe even some pictures when we get that done. Right now, it's just hanging in by one bolt.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's been a long show, but for good reason.
It has, for a good reason, though. Again, folks, anybody you want us to talk to, we've gotten a little bit of feedback from folks about you want us to see, but coming this November, SEMA.
Yep.
Any vendors you want us to go hunt down? Sorry, I'm not going to look for refunds for you, but I will look for questions and get technical feedback and talk to folks. So if you've got something that's burning and itching, you know, I think while I'm there, I'm going to go walk around and talk to Daystar and a few of the other guys about, body mounts and see what kind of information I can get out of them.
Cool. Sounds like a plan. And with that, I think it's time we go ahead and... I guess, real quickly, I did want to say thanks to our Patreons, of course. Again, thank you for everything you guys do. Mm-hmm. As far as the hashtag Dirty 30, I kind of said that and I realized, hashtag OTT podcast, or sorry, OTT Dirty 30. You type in Dirty 30 and oops, don't type that in Instagram. I mean, scrub your browser. I kind of did that before I realized. About 90% of it is not Jeep related when you type in Dirty 30. It's a bunch of old cougars. So, oops. So if all of a sudden you have to explain something that to your wife or a significant other, it's my fault. So we're going to try and hashtag OTT Dirty 30. But with that, though, I think we're running out of time.
Definitely. Enough talking. I'm going to walk out and lock my hubs and put my Jeep in for low and hit the trail.
And thanks, time, for spending. I did it again.
You did it
Thanks
again.
for spending time with us. And as always, wheel legal.
Tread lightly.
Plus, take nothing but pictures, memories, and of course, your trash when you leave the trail.
All right, be sure to check in for our next podcast of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott.
Oh, it's October and I didn't do a spooky thing. Woo.
It's October 1st. You still have one more, the 15th.
Go me, go me, go me.
So he's got to figure out something.
I'm a ghost. Hey, bye, guys.
Bye.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precautions, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.